Hello everyone, and welcome to Stepping Out, a nature series created by the Ames Free Library. I'm Lorraine Rubinacci, your naturalist on these outings. It's the beginning of July and they are everywhere. You've seen them, and you probably ignored them. I'm talking about those common, resilient plants that grow along roads, sidewalks, parking lots, and behind businesses. In so-called neglected areas that have been disturbed by human activity. They are what we dismiss as weeds, but there's another way of looking at them, as survivors that build soil, support insects, and enrich our lives with beautiful colors and patterns. In Europe, there is a movement to acknowledge plants in urban environments by learning to identify them. It was initiated by a French botanist named Boris Prusek. Here is a brief excerpt of a video that illustrates his educational endeavor.
Voilà, ça c'est le fraisier d'Inde, une petite plante qu'on va trouver sur les trottoirs ici à Toulouse. Alors pour tout le monde c'est une mauvaise herbe. En fait c'est une plante dont les fruits sont comestibles. Puis je vous propose qu'on aille découvrir toutes ces plantes qui habitent les trottoirs.
This activity has spread to other European nations and Great Britain. It is called chalking the walk. Here are some examples in England. While I'm a strong advocate of planting native species and preserving wilderness areas, I also see a value in this activity, for it encourages curiosity and appreciation, it's readily accessible, it's sociable, and it's an easy way to begin learning plant identification. Let me share some tools and techniques that will enable you to identify plants and to chalk the walk. Here's a plant that we can use to practice identification. Let's begin by trying the phone app called New England Wildflowers, which works by asking several questions. Once you open the app, the first thing to do is to set the time and place. Turn GPS on, and I'm setting it to the first week of July. At that point, the first question has to do with the plant type. Is it a tree? Is it a fern? Nope, it's a wildflower. What color is the flower? Yellow. How many petals does it have? 5. How large is the flower? I'd say about 3/4 of an inch. What's the arrangement of the leaves? They're opposite one another on the stem. And lastly, what is its habitat? Of all the choices that it's offering me, the one that's most suited is disturbed. At this point, the list has been narrowed to 14 plants. I'm going to look at them. At the very top of the list is a plant that looks just like this one. Common St. John's wort. Success. So let's chalk the walk. England Wildflowers app is easy to use, works offline, and encourages basic observation skills. And it seems to be pretty accurate. Unfortunately, it's not at all helpful unless you have a flower in bloom. Now let's try my favorite field guide, Newcomb's Wildflower Guide, written by Lawrence Newcomb, a botanist who lived in Sharon, Massachusetts. The guide begins with 3 basic questions which can be found on the inside of the front cover.
Each answer is paired with a number. What is our flower type? It is number 5. It has 5 regular flower parts. What is our plant type? Number 4. A plant with opposite leaves. What is the leaf type? Number 2. The leaves are entire. That is, they have no lobes or teeth. We take this 3-digit number, number 542, to the locator key, where plants with these characteristics are differentiated.
The options in the locator key lead us to a page number. Our plant will be on either page 266 or 268. This looks promising. Fine details confirm the species. Tiny black dots on the petals and numerous stamens, those thread-like flower parts in the center. Once again, we've come to common St. John's wort. Newcomb's guide encourages consistent observation skills. You will quickly develop the habit of looking for flower type, plant type, and leaf type whenever you see a plant. What's more, the illustrator's drawings emphasize the distinguishing characteristics of the plant. It does take a little bit more time to use, and the taxonomy is not up to date. Now I know what you're thinking. Why doesn't she just upload a photo? So let's do photos using the iNaturalist app. iNaturalist is a citizen science project that encourages people of all experience levels to make observations and to submit photos. Members identify the species or corroborate your identification. Once you set up an account, the process is simple. I open the app, and I take a photo. My phone is set to record location, date, and time, but you can add this information manually. Lastly, I need to add an identification to my observation. This can be very broad, like the word plant. Clicking on the identification field brings a drop-down menu of suggestions. I can select one of these or key in one of my own. I'm going to choose the option at the top of the list, the genus Hypericum, which is the group of St. John's worts. I submit my observation and wait for another member to confirm or improve upon my ID. iNaturalist is a great tool for getting people involved in observing nature. It's inspirational to see the efforts of other naturalists, and one can learn a lot by reading the forums and submitting questions to other members. It also provides a gigantic database for researchers. I'm particularly impressed by its computer vision. That is, its system of automated suggestions for identification. This app is beautiful and fun, but like our other methods, it has limitations. My first 2 submissions of common distinctive plants were verified within 2 days. My next 5 observations have been waiting a week. Some observations are never verified. Most participants lack the skill or time to make identifications, which leads to a huge backlog of unconfirmed observations. Keep in mind, this isn't an identification service. Moreover, asking someone else to identify your discoveries will never teach you how to do it yourself. It's best to attempt your own identification before you share or consult with others. Let's consider one more tool in detail: Go Botany. This identification aid is part of the Native Plant Trust's website. Like most guides, it walks the observer through a series of questions.
The full key divides plants into major groups, like woody plants and aquatic plants and others. Our specimen fits best into all other flowering plants. Here are several choices. Our plant has opposite leaves. It belongs here. This brings up a lot of choices, which we narrow down by answering questions. Our previous observations will make this process quick and easy. I'll walk you through. Habitat. It grows on land, terrestrial. Specific habitat, disturbed or man-made. New England state, Massachusetts. Leaf type. Our leaves are simple. They have no leaflets. Petal color, yellow. Leaf arrangement, opposite. The leaf blade edges have no teeth. They're entire. Flower symmetry. It's like a daisy or the spokes of a wheel. Number of petals, 5. At this point, we're down to 12 matches, and it's usually easy by just looking to eliminate the ones that aren't suitable. Smack in the middle of the page is our old friend, common St. John's wort. When I go to the species page, there are multiple photos of the plant's anatomy and development. There are comparisons to similar plants, and Go Botany defines botanical terms.
Working through the questions does take time, and the process is more difficult if you don't have an actual bloom. Nevertheless, the website is a rich resource for identifying and understanding plant life in New England. You may have noticed that none of these guides starts with flower color. Colors may vary, and flowers are short-lived. Try to pay more attention to the plant's habitat and structure. This will make the challenge easier. Now, there may be times when you find a plant that's difficult to identify, perhaps one without flowers. In that case, you can seek help from botanical societies, or you can try a for-payment app like Flower Checker. For $1, the botanist on staff will attempt to identify your plant within 24 hours. And from what I can see, they do rather well. Like all new skills, plant identification requires practice. No one was born recognizing car models or dog breeds or movie stars or knowing how to read words or musical notation. Be patient with yourself. I'm proposing that viewers of this video identify and chalk at least one plant in their neighborhood in a place where someone else will see it. This can be in your own driveway or sidewalk, or with the property owner's permission in other places. To summarize, take time to notice and use tools like in this video to identify what you see. And then, most importantly, enjoy the interesting stuff. Knowing the plant's name is the key to learning more about its natural history, its ecology, and its uses by people. Our example, common St. John's wort, has interesting physical characteristics. Use your hand lens to see the tiny black resin dots at the petal margins. Those contain essential oils. Lift a leaf up to the sun and you will see small transparent spots that look like perforations. That's what gives the plant its botanical name, perforatum. This plant has been used in traditional medicine by everyone from the ancient Greeks to the Cherokee to treat a variety of conditions, including wounds and depression. Rub one of its yellow flowers on a white sheet of paper and it will emit a red dye. Crafters use this natural dye to color fibers. In the wild, the plant is visited by pollinating bees, including some native species. Even its name has a story. Common St. John's wort blooms around June 24th, the birthday of St. John the Baptist. All of this knowledge comes from recognizing just one weed. Now imagine how many fascinating discoveries await you. Thanks for joining Stepping Out, and good luck with your next plant adventure.